welcome back. I'm Di, and today I am bringing you my December wrap-up. So in December, I have read 4 books so far, and I will be finishing one before the month is over, so I'm going to go ahead and include it as I am filming this a couple days in advance. This month, I participated in Harry Christmas to You, which is a readathon of all the Harry Potter books and a watchathon of all of the movies. This was thought up by Maureen Keevy, I believe. I will link her read-along video down in the description box below. This month, I had only planned to read the first book, which was Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, but I also read Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. It has been a very long time since I've reread both of these books, and I forgot how much I enjoyed them after watching the movies. So many times there are parts in the books that I completely forgot, and characters like Peeves. Peeves is not in the movie. Why is Peeves not in the movie? But I am really enjoying this. I am currently reading the third one, which is The Prisoner of Azkaban, and I'm just going through that very slowly. But I'm sure I don't need to tell you about these books. I highly enjoyed them again on my reread, and I gave them both 5 stars again. The next book I read was a book that I had started in November for the Reads with Friends Goodreads group that was created by Shannon at Leaning Lights, and that book is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This book took me a little longer than I had expected it to, and I do have to say that I wasn't completely drawn in from the start, so that's another reason why I didn't finish it in November. But this book takes place on Mars, and it's a dystopian sci-fi first book in a trilogy. It follows our main character Darrow, who is a red, and from what I gathered, they are like the lowest on the social totem pole. Darrow is a miner on Mars, and he mines elements, and they are told that they need to mine these elements because the surface is not habitable, so they need to mine the elements to make it habitable. So one day, Darrow's wife Io gets convicted of a crime and is sentenced for execution, and as her last words, she sings a song, and the song sparks a revolution. There's a secret group out there, and they recruit Darrow to be their spearhead of the revolution, and they completely make him over with the intention of having him infiltrate the golds, which are the highest in the social ladder, and take them down from the inside. This book took me a good 50% to actually get invested in the story. I liked it, but it just wasn't grabbing me. After the 50% mark, though, when he starts going through some of the trials that he needs to go through to become accepted into the Gold Society, it started getting really interesting. Since I was having such a hard time getting into this book, I did end up borrowing a copy of the audiobook from One Click Digital, which is offered from my library, and that really helped me to get into the story more. I did keep forgetting that the story was taking place on Mars, though, because a lot of the scenery that's described reminds me of the Scottish Highlands, and even the narrator for Darrow on the audiobook has a slight Scottish accent. But that didn't detract from the story for me. Actually, that made it more interesting because I really enjoy Scottish backdrops and music. And so I think that really helped with my enjoyment of this story. When I first had started this book, I didn't think I was going to continue with the trilogy, but after I finished, I am definitely continuing on to the next book, and I ended up giving this book 4 stars. The next book I read was Soundless by Richelle Mead. It was released to me from my library, and so I don't actually have it with me right now, but I am going to try out a new editing software, so if I am able to do it, I will put a photo of the book here. This book is about a Chinese village on a mountain, and the village is comprised of people who are completely deaf. Some of them are also now losing their eyesight, but they survive on the metals that they mine in exchange for the food. So the miners will go in, mine the metals, and then they send it down through like a pulley system down the mountain, and in return they get a shipment of food and supplies. Well, because people are going blind, they're not able to mine as many metals, and so they are not getting as much food, and therefore people are getting sick and they're dying of starvation. And so our main character, Faye, one day kind of gets her hearing back miraculously. She doesn't understand why she's getting her hearing back, but she decides that she is going to propel down the mountain and to see if she can find out or explain to the people who ship the food up what's going on and try to save her people. Now, a little disclaimer here, I am part Chinese, but I do not know all of the myths or any of the myths or folklore or any of the language. But I did enjoy this book. Not having a lot that makes the story inherently Chinese didn't detract from my enjoyment from it. There is a bit of mythology that is introduced towards the very end of the story that I think has more impact on the entire story and should have been utilized as such. I would have totally enjoyed more of that introduction of the myth that we're exposed to in the end throughout the story. I think that would have made it a lot better. But that being said, I still really enjoyed the story, and I ended up giving the book 4 stars. Now, the book that I am currently reading and should finish by the end of the month is Sweet Valley Twins. This is The Magic Christmas. This is a reread for me, so I can go ahead and tell you what it's about and give you my thoughts on it. This follows the twins, Elizabeth and Jessica, and it's the day before Christmas, and they both think that they've got the best gift for the other sister. But when they exchange gifts, the gifts don't go over as well as they thought it would, so they get into this huge fight. Their grandparents come in with a set of Harlequin dolls that have been in their family for quite a while, and on each doll there is a different riddle. When the girls go to bed that night, they unwittingly solve that riddle, and the dolls end up transforming into boys. The boys don't belong to this world. They get swept up into a magical vortex, and as the girls are trying to figure out what's going on, the girls also get swept up into the magical vortex. And so when the girls land in the new magical world, they are separated. Jessica is with her doll Doran, Elizabeth is with her doll Adair, and both sets of people are trying to make their way back to the castle because the only way for Jessica and Elizabeth to get back to their world is through a magical labyrinth which is attached to the castle. But the castle is now inhabited by an evil sorcerer named Medwin, who had turned Adair and Doran into the Harlequin dolls and banished them into the other world to begin with. I read this book several times when I was a teenager, and I really enjoyed it. I am about 60 something percent through. I'm on page 158 right now, and it's just as magical as I remember it being. I did not read the Sweet Valley Twins books at all when I was growing up. This was the only one of those books that I did read, and it had a lot to do with the fact that it was a book about Christmas. Now, this book is not written by Francine Pascal. It is based on her characters, but the book was written by Jamie Suzanne. And I'm not even sure if this book is still in print, but if you can find a copy, I highly recommend that you pick one up, because this just gives me the Christmas feels. I will give this book 5 stars. And that does it for the books that I read in the month of December. I will have all links to books that I talked about here on my blog if you're interested. Let me know down in the comments below what books you read in the month of December. I hope you guys are all doing great. And until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.